The import geometry command is used to import parts and assemblies and other items into the 3D scene. It's most commonly used to import files from other systems, or generic file types that aren't the standard IronCAD file type, because for that you could just press open. When we click on import geometry, you can see we're currently selected onto all parts, but we can change to sort to a specific file type if we'd like to, for example, import a 2D, DXF or DWG, or an STL file, or a 3D Studio file, and so on. We can select specific file types, like SolidWorks files here. At the moment, we're going to leave it on all parts, and note we can still import IronCAD parts as well, and I'll show that in a moment. But for now, I'm going to import this step file, which is a very common shared 3D file type. So I'll click on that. Note we do have options available for import, so you can click on import options here in the menu and see many different options for when you're importing data. For example, you can import reference data, and you can also perform various operations on the items you're importing. There are lots of different things available here. I'm going to leave that all as it is, and then just hit open to import that model. Now you can see it'll run through the import process and allow us to click to place the model. Now we have that imported file. When you import a file like that, it will simply bring in the file as normal as a new file in the IronCAD 3D scene that's not linked to anything. However, if you import an IronCAD file, like this one here, and in this case I'll use the default configuration, there's a few configurations in this one, that's why we get that dialog. Let's zoom out to see our part here. There we go, this one's a lot bigger than our other part we imported. When you import an IronCAD part, you can see it actually gets externally linked. So it'll now be externally linked so that any changes here will be actually reflected in the part, and vice versa. If you open up that individual part, or assembly in this case, any changes to it will be reflected in this scene file or model as well. Sometimes that's useful, but because you can design all of your parts in one file in IronCAD, often people will like to unlink this so that it can just be changed in this model and not actually affect all the other models this part might be in. So for that, we just want to unlink it. So we click Unlink External up here. That will then unlink that from the other file, and now we can make changes on this file that won't be affected in the other file. That's how you use the import geometry command.